Few players faced as much derision this year as Darryn Peterson. Despite all the frustrations and looking like a fraction of himself, Peterson still put up some of the most impressive numbers we've seen from a freshman guard. Let's take a look at Peterson's offensive versatility, his defensive upside, everything that makes him arguably the best player in the 2026 NBA draft, and the areas of his game where he still has a lot to prove. I'm Tyler Metcalf. Welcome to Film School. Where I want to start with Peterson's game is by looking at who he actually is as a player, and that's a shooting guard. I know a lot of people tried to market him and sell him as a point guard coming into the year, but that's not who he is. He has a ton of upside as a playmaker and an on-ball scorer. We'll get to all of that, but at his core, he is a shooting guard, and he was absolutely lethal this year as a shooter, which was weirdly enough one of the bigger questions on him coming into the year. He ranked in the 99th percentile spotting up, the 94th percentile shooting off the catch, the 53rd percentile shooting off screens, but 38.2% from three when running off screens. His ability to settle into open pockets on the perimeter and utilize his lightning quick release to torch defenders was stunning this year. He constantly and single-handedly took over games with his outside shooting and his off-ball movement, off-ball shooting, and that ability to create a lot of different looks by using his scoring gravity in an off-ball role. Just the pure threat of him being absolutely lethal off the catch is more than enough to warrant him being one of the top picks in this class, but it's everything that he builds off of this gravity that we'll get into throughout this video that really makes him so exciting. But at his core, he is a shooting guard. And throughout these clips, we can see absolutely why, because the numbers reflect it, the film reflects it, and his ability to get into this really impressive shot prep and not need a massive window to get his shot off while having really quick release, consistent mechanics throughout. It's incredibly impressive. And when we think about how Peterson will fit early in an NBA system, we think about him, whether it's at Washington, playing off of Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr, Trae Young, his ability to provide immediate floor spacing and off-ball scoring will fit in perfectly. Let's say he goes to Utah, playing alongside Keontae George, who took a massive leap as a point guard this year, and then playing off of Lauri Markkanen, Triple J, Walker Kessler, and being that dynamic off-ball scorer with Ace Bailey on the perimeter. That's another perfect fit, and this is just if we don't even get anything else out of Peterson in terms of on-ball creation or on-ball scoring. His ability to be this lethal knockdown movement shooter, spot-up shooter, quick decision maker off the catch is incredibly valuable and opens up everything else in his game. What makes Peterson even more lethal as an off-ball scorer, though, is that he uses his shooting gravity and off-ball movement to also set up really good looks at the rim. If defenders are playing really aggressive ball denial, he's more than comfortable throwing in a jab step, cutting back door, getting to the rim, drawing a foul, getting to the line, and finishing in all three areas of the floor. He isn't just a one-trick pony when it comes to his off-ball scoring. And it's a big reason why he had a true shooting percentage over 60% this year when he was cutting. As we can see throughout a lot of these possessions, anytime a defender is getting overeager or sleeping off ball, Peterson is more than eager to take advantage of it. So as the ball swings here, Peterson's in this right corner. His, UCF is playing a zone here, but his defender is ball watching. Nice little back screen, sets up Peterson at the rim. He goes and gets it. About as easy of a lob as you're going to get. Here, right corner, Milan Momcilovic zoning out a little bit, ball watching. Peterson recognizes that once Jefferson goes with Flory to defend the pick and roll, Momcilovic is out of position, and he has a clear runway to the rim. He back cuts, doesn't stay stagnant in the corner, takes advantage of the attention that the primary action is drawing, cuts back door, doesn't finish through the contact, but gets the foul. On this one, goes into a DHO. His defender is pressing up really aggressively, trying to blow up this DHO instead of trying to force it, run through there, run back, reset, kill, another 5 to 10 seconds of the shot clock, Peterson instead does a great job planting that right foot, cutting back door, and now he has a clear runway to get downhill, to get to the rim. Does a great job securing it through the dig, finishing through the contact, extends with that left hand, gets the bucket plus the foul. That's the kind of stuff that Peterson does regularly, where it's his ability to think quickly, not be complacent off the ball, and be really active to make himself available for teammates and generate really quality looks in all three areas of the floor. It's what differentiates him from pretty much any other off ball guard or wing in this class, and really solidifies and elevates his all around off ball scoring arsenal. Peterson isn't exclusively an off ball scorer, though. Early in his career, I would imagine that that's what we end up seeing mostly from him, given the prolific nature of his off ball shooting and how he can flow between on ball and off ball responsibilities. But at his best, at his peak, in his prime, he's going to be this really dynamic on ball scoring two guard who can flow between running off screens into DHOs, into empty side pick and rolls, and pushing in transition and creating out of isolation for himself. As we can see throughout all of these clips, Peterson does such a good job of making quick decisions, of getting downhill, utilizing screens really well. Just real quick, we got to highlight this dunk, because for someone who was seemingly sapped of his athleticism all year, welcome to the poster, Kibukeda. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. But Peterson's ability to effortlessly flow between roles and responsibilities and score in all three levels of the court was really breathtaking this year. Now, some of his efficiency out of the pick and roll wasn't the best. He was sub 20% from three, shooting out of the pick and roll. I think a lot more of that is shot selection than ability, because as we can see here, he doesn't have a whole lot of issues pulling up from three, and his ability to make those quick decisions, keep defenders on their heels, and string together counters is so valuable. A lot of the times when we see young players like Peterson get walled up on drives or met with physicality right away, they pick up their dribble, pass out of it, and consider the possession over. That's rarely ever the case with Peterson. Even going back to high school, he's always been so good at keeping his dribble alive, stringing together multiple counters, flowing between giving up the ball, creating for others, getting his own look, getting to different areas of the floor. Like this possession right here, I really love this one. There's another one in a little bit against Tunde as well, where it's good defense by Tunde's part, but just a little better offense by Darryn, and his ability to absorb contact and continue to finish through the play. So as Darryn runs off this little Chicago action, initially takes a little too rounded of a path. That's something that's got to get cleaned up. Tunde does a great job of recovering, but once he makes contact here, he's in so much of a recovery mode that his hips are parallel to the baseline. So Tunde's momentum is going the other way. Darryn slams on the brakes, spins back against Tunde's momentum towards the middle of the floor. Little shot fake to freeze him. Again, Tunde does a really good job here of recovering. There's no way that he should have recovered as well as he did in this play, but Darryn has that high release point, doesn't need much of a window, soft touch. It's really, really beautiful stuff. And that type of ability to absorb contact, keep that dribble alive, keep his balance, it's pretty special. It's pretty special, especially at his age. We don't typically see that, and as we can see, it showed up a lot. This is my favorite one. So right off the bat here, the half is winding down. A little high pick and roll with Flory. Peterson denies the screen. Tunde does a great job anticipating it, sliding his feet, defending with his chest, walls Peterson off. Darren's like, all right, bet. Keeps his dribble alive, hits him with this nasty hang dribble, and when Darren's at his best, when he's at his healthiest, this is what he looks like in terms of being able to explode in tight spaces, perfect hang dribble, sends Tunde the wrong way, recovers, hang dribble, crossover to his left, and then just for good measure, hits him with that step back to generate even more space. Again, Tunde's doing a really good job here of recovering and playing as good of defense as he possibly can. Darren's just that good. It just doesn't matter. He's able to knock down that jumper. And those kind of moves, those kinds of counters and physicality and tough shot making, that's what we see from the best NBA guards all the time. And we're already seeing it from Darryn in college, in high school, in international, whatever the setting is, Darryn has always been able to knock down these kinds of shots and flow between being an on-ball or off-ball scorer. It's really impressive. Day one, offensive shot-making, scoring versatility. Now, one of the most make-or-break areas of Peterson's game is going to be his rim pressure. And there was a lot of good this year, but also a lot of questionable. And I just right off the bat here, I need to rewind because the switching of hands midair here rocks. Just takes AJ DeBonsa right off the dribble. No fancy jab step, no crazy move, just straight line drive, turns the corner on him, splits the gap help, and then elevates, goes up with his right. Kibikaita's rotating over from the weak side, switches back to his left, finishes through the contact with his offhand, and that's special stuff. But overall this year, Peterson's rim pressure was just kind of eh. He was in the 53rd percentile at the rim, 58.3% at the rim. Those numbers are fine. They're nothing crazy. But what was more concerning was that he was in the 12th percentile in at-rim shot frequency. And for someone who's as dynamic of an athlete and ball handler and as creative as he is, that is more concerning. And that's where I feel like we saw the injury issues pop up a lot more. I didn't love how much he kind of settled for runners, signed 58th percentile on points, or 58th percentile in points per possession on runners, 42.2% on them, but 84th percentile in runner frequency. If you're going to make them, okay, cool. But I would love to see him really get downhill, get to the rim more, because when he does, he has such good touch with either hand that he's able to finish on either side of the rim, really finish through contact whenever he wants to. But because he settled so much, because he looked so hesitant getting downhill for the bulk of the season, he only had a free throw rate of like 32. That's way too low for someone with his scoring capabilities and his athletic tools. That has to be at least 40. And this year it just wasn't. But I think that's where we saw the injury come into play the most, because he was really consistently settling for these long floaters that when they go in, they look great. But when they don't, it's like, man, what are you doing? Because as we can see throughout these, when he really wants to, he can get downhill just about whenever he wants, and very few people can really consistently stop him. Pairing this kind of rim pressure and floater with his shooting, both on and off ball, it's going to make him an absolute nightmare. In an NBA system with NBA shooters around him, you'd also expect it to be a little better in terms of floor spacing and gaps that he can attack, but it's still something that we have to see him implement a little more, because it took a major step back from where he was in high school. Like, just plays like this, and this is super easy. This is stuff that he should be feasting on and getting whenever he wants. And this is just an early offense, blow by drive. Tunde does a pretty good job here of defending again. Flory gets a great seal, though, in the early offense. Rim runs, seals off his defender. Peterson reads it perfectly, attacks the space, extends with that offhand. No defender is going to get there. And let's say Darryn goes to the Jazz. Triple J, Laurie, Kessler getting those early seals and creating opportunities for Darryn to attack downhill. It's too easy when he wants it to be. And when he just really puts his mind to, like, hey, I'm going to get downhill. Little miscommunication here on defense, on the DHO. I love that hesitation move, just toys with the defender, because once he, like we just saw a ton of clips of Darryn being lethal from this range, little hesitation, head fake, lifts his eyes up to get the defender to commit, keeps his dribble alive. again, common theme with all of these Darryn clips is that he keeps his dribble alive. He keeps his options open, toys with the defender, attacks downhill, repositions, throws up a little floater. Absolute money. This kind of stuff can be really easy for Darryn when he wants it to be. And like, this is not an easy shot, but Darryn makes it look easy. Crossover, attacks downhill. I don't love that he wasn't able to get all the way to the rim. I know Najee is lurking there. Darryn sees that he can't fully turn the corner. I believe that's Radish, that he can't fully turn the corner on, which again, it's concerning. Hopefully, it's an injury issue or him. One of the issues that was or symptoms of his injury, issues that he was dealing with all year. But the fact of the matter is that he still didn't turn the corner here, and instead has to settle for this fadeaway, off balance, one handed runner. Now, and he knocks it down, and that's a testament to how skilled he is as a scorer and with his scoring touch. But that kind of stuff, when he gets that type of runway and he's able to initially shake his defender like he does here, you would want the end shot result to be a little easier. And just real quick, I wanted to sprinkle in just a few of his high school stuff because, man, it looked effortless. And Darryn played against some of the best high school programs in the country, so this isn't him just going against some public school guys with my level of athleticism. This is him going up against peers and, McDonald's All-Americans and guys who played FIBA and who are going pro this year. And we're seeing that same level of scoring touch on the floaters, but we're seeing also a little more aggressiveness, getting downhill, playing through contact, initiating contact, and getting all the way to the rim. And when we see the burst in the open court, it feels like his straight line speed was a little more impressive and a little more effortless in his senior year than it was this year at Kansas. I think that's, again, this is all speculation on my part, but that's where the hamstring issues seem like they come into play because we weren't seeing him consistently accelerate downhill when he had that straight line like he was in his senior year. As the year went on and he got a little healthier, we saw more of it, but especially in the early part of the year, December, January, that time period, he looked a lot more stagnant, a lot more hesitant, a lot more heavy-footed getting downhill, and it's not what we saw from him throughout high school. Now, as frustrating as some of Darryn's rim pressure stuff was this year, it was nowhere near as frustrating as his playmaking or lack thereof in terms of playmaking was this year. Coming into this year, a big reason why some people were pitching Darryn as a potential point guard was because of the playmaking growth that we saw from him in his senior year at Prolific, and that disappeared this year. Now, my hope is that was a contextual thing and that he was asked to be a scorer and not asked to facilitate and create for others a whole lot. But the facts are the numbers were tough and a lot of the film was tough, as we can see throughout some of these. Comes off this Chicago action, gets downhill. Whenever this is now the strong side corner, and that pass has to be made 10 times out of 10. I don't care really who's in the corner there. I believe that's Trey White, who had a solid shooting year. But if help defense is going to sink that far down out of strong side corner, you have to make that pass. Instead, Darryn tries to elevate through multiple defenders, gets swatted, no chance. Here, left wing goes to work, drives, and this kind of goes back to the rim pressure thing. Instead of just lofting this ball up to Flory to go get it or dumping off to Bryson here, he just throws up a tough floater. He's playing with blinders a lot of the time, and he felt sped up way more than I was anticipating this year because this should be an easy dunk or layup for either big man. Instead, it's a heavily contested off-balance floater. I don't care how good of a floater he had this year. One of these passes just has to be made. Early offense, pushing, getting downhill, attracts multiple defenders, crosses back over, wide open in the corner. Marco Jackson's not Steph Curry out there, but again, it's an easy pass. It's directly in his line of vision, and Darryn just doesn't go for it. Instead, again, another off-balance runner with his offhand. It's not a horrible look for him, but I mean, any time you have a teammate that wide open in the corner, just make the simple pass, especially this early in the shot clock. If he doesn't put it up, you can reset. You can go from there. But with NBA shooters and in an NBA context, you have to hope that Darren's making those passes a lot more consistently, because these are a lot of just kind of rudimentary reads that he just wasn't seeing for a lot of this year. Here, just dump it off. I know high hands, second guesses himself, eventually tries to kick it out, but he's just not confident in what he's seen, and he's rushing, he's uncertain, he's hesitating, and it's resulting in bad turnovers like this. So this was unfortunately a common theme with Darryn this year, um, and his playmaking really, really took a step back. This one I might be being a little harsh on, but in high school we saw him make that whip pass. Like, defender is really aggressively in the paint. We saw him thread this needle and make this type of pass in high school. I know it's college. I know bigger defenders, better athletes, all that kind of stuff. He's capable of making that pass, whether it's live dribble one hand or two hand over the top. That's a pass that he should be and is capable of making, and we just rarely saw him even attempt those this year. And the reason that those shortcomings and that lack of vision this year was so frustrating is because there was a lot of good in Darren's playmaking as well. Basically, none of the numbers suggest that, as you just saw in that previous clip. But when Darryn played simple and took what the defense gave him and just made the extra pass, like, there were a lot of good opportunities there. Like, in this one, in that previous clip, he wasn't doing this kind of stuff, where this isn't overly complicated, but he recognizes drop coverage, help defenders rotated really far over when he doesn't need to be, skip past to Trey White. If that's Keontae George, if that's Trey Johnson, if that's Jalen Wells, Cam Spencer, like, if that's his NBA teammate, that shot's going up. Trey White eventually attacks downhill, draws the foul, but there were a lot of situations like that where Darryn made the right read and also didn't get rewarded for the assist. Like, this is a really good pass. This is really good processing by him. High pick and roll, attracts both defenders, keeps his dribble alive, reuses the screen, attacks downhill, draws the help defenders, really collapses the defense. Four defenders now in the paint, elevates, doesn't like the shot, recognizes that Tiller's wide open on the opposite side, kicks it out. Again, NBA guy, that shot's going up. Instead, we drive into traffic, and that's the result. So when you're looking at Darren's playmaking numbers, they're bad. Like, I promise I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but a lot of his playmaking numbers this year were bad. I also don't think that they were entirely reflective of the type of passer he was, because there were a lot of times where he used his scoring gravity to collapse the defense, create for others, and find weak side shooters, cutters, rim runners, all that kind of stuff. Like, this is an incredible read. This is really, really good stuff from him. Early offense against Colorado, they're pushing. Great job using his shooting gravity to draw that closeout. Doesn't settle for it. Attacks baseline. Recognizes where the weak side defender is. Knows that Trey White's cutting, but he wants to set up the layup. So he stares down his teammate in the corner, which moves, I believe that's Isaiah Johnson. No, that's Isaiah Johnson. But moves the weak side defender to create that passing lane for Trey White. Dumps it off to him right on the money. Again, doesn't get the assist, but ends up leading to a foul. And it's all because of the process and the scoring gravity that Peterson has. So in an NBA context, as an off-ball creator, this is the kind of stuff that Darryn can really bring to the table. If you're just looking at his playmaking numbers and assists per game and a 1.0 assist to turnover ratio and a sub 13 assist rate, there's not a whole lot to get excited about. Like, unless you're really diving into the film and seeing how he's reading the game, flowing between possessions and recognizing defensive coverages, it's really easy to label Darryn as a bad playmaker. He wasn't perfect this year. We already went through a lot of the bad where he wasn't seeing the stuff, but, like, this is a beautiful, beautiful hockey assist where he's effortlessly flowing between, all right, pick and roll, doesn't like it, drives middle, collapses the defense, kicks out, relocates, gets the defender to commit again, defenders are scrambling. There's miscommunication on switches. Darryn yet again attracts both of them, kicks back to Melvin Council, who could easily put that shot up. He doesn't. He makes the extra pass, and they get a wide open corner three out of it. But all of it is because of the quick decision making from Peterson every time he touches the ball. Whenever Darryn has the ball, it's never stop and go, or stop, survey, figure out what there is, and then go. It's always catch and go, catch and pass, catch and shoot, catch and attack downhill, or just pass and relocate. There's so little fat or wasted movement or wasted recognition in his game. He is constantly keeping the offense flowing, constantly moving the ball, moving without the ball, and generating really quality looks for himself and for others. So there was a lot of frustrations and a lot of bad, both in terms of film and numbers this year from Darryn with his playmaking that has to get better. But there's also a lot of good. And this is the kind of stuff where it's like he was never a point guard. Coming into the year, he was never a point guard. He's always been a shooting guard with playmaking chops. If you want him to be a point guard, you're going to be disappointed because that's not who he is at his core. And I don't think that that's where you're going to get the most out of him. Instead, if you look at him as a two guard with playmaking capabilities and playmaking upside, like an Anthony Edwards, like a Dwayne Wade, like a Ray Allen, like a Devin Booker, like a Donovan Mitchell, those are the guys that I get really excited about when thinking about Darryn Peterson. If you're trying to think of him as a point guard who's going to be creating for others, though, and his primary job is to get others involved, I just think you're going to be disappointed because I don't think that that's the best use of his capabilities. Instead, using him as that off-ball creator, as that secondary creator, there is so much upside with his game. The really scary upside with Darryn Peterson, though, comes with his defense. Now, he still has a lot of work to do, but man, there's some encouraging stuff. And him having a block rate of 2.3 and a steal rate of 2.9, those are really good marks for someone who is the hub of the offense. And it speaks to his instincts, his ability to jump passing lanes, to be disruptive away from the ball, to be disruptive on the ball. There's a lot of really good stuff. Now, it's the classic, man, when he wants to be, he can be an awesome defender. I hate that cliche, but with Darryn, it really rings true. And we saw it improve again from what we saw in high school, where there was some really good stuff in high school, but what we saw this year, I thought, took yet another step forward. There's some work that still needs to be done that we'll get into, but these types of possessions, when your superstar is sitting down in his stance, sliding his feet, staying rim side of the ball handler, like Cam Carr's a good athlete, and forcing him into that type of runner, that type of shot without fouling, that's really good defense. And if you're just getting that from Darryn Peterson in terms of playing with physicality, defending with his chest, staying vertical, not giving up anything easy, that alone is going to be more than enough to complement everything he brings on the offensive end. The fun part, though, is if he really buys in to the defensive end and we see him constantly move his feet like this, defend with his chest like this, and that's a tough shot. You just got to tip your cap. But like the defense here from start to finish is perfect. Slides his feet, absorbs the contact, cuts off the drive, stays engaged. Does it again, slides back, high hands, forces the ball handler into a incredibly tough off-balance fadeaway. He makes a shot, you live with it. But this kind of defense, if you're getting this from Darryn Peterson every single possession, or even just most possessions, that's the kind of stuff that leads to titles, that leads to All-NBA awards, that leads to MVP awards. Because a lot of guys who have his offensive skill set don't defend like this every single night. But Darryn has not only the tools. I know when we talk about guys defending, it's like, oh, well, he has incredible tools. It's like, all right, well, does he use the tools? I don't care if he has the tools. Does he use the tools? And what we're continuing to see from Darryn Peterson every single year is that he's learning how to use the tools better and more consistently. And that's where his ultimate two-way upside gets so exciting. Because if he's turning into not to like just an above average NBA level defender with his offensive stuff, league's going to be in trouble. And whatever team, whether it's the Wizards, the Jazz, the Grizzlies that gets him, they're going to be over the moon because he's going to be able to impact winning on both ends of the floor. Now, unfortunately, there are two sides to that coin with Peterson's defense. And a lot of it was underwhelming, let's go with. Now, it wasn't like glaring effort issues or fundamental red flags or anything like that. It was a lot of the shortcomings were stuff that we constantly see from freshmen, like turning off mid possession or not finishing off the possession or getting sloppy with footwork and fundamentals. It's stuff that we see from top freshmen all the time. We saw it from Cam Boozer, AJ DeBonsa, Caleb Wilson, Michael Brown, Darius Acuff. All of these guys have had plenty of stretches of bad defense, and Peterson isn't excluded from that. So as good as some of those clips were that I showed, there's also a lot that he needs to improve on. Like this possession right here where he's just kind of aimlessly wandering around, going for kind of half-heartedly going for a steal that he shouldn't be going for anyways because right now he's way out of position and he should be scrambling back. He never does. Short closeout, never cuts off the drive, no physicality, just lackluster defense. It's inexcusable stuff. And it's stuff that you can get away with in high school, not in college, definitely not the pros. Here, we see him as a weak side defender, lack of awareness. He needs to be rotating pretty much now. He needs to be tagging the roller and then putting himself in position where he can still recover out. Instead, he just never rotates. He's not even there late. He just never gets there, gives up the easy dunk. Here, lack of communication, or communicates well but doesn't follow through on his communication. We don't see him really point, but it looks like he says something to Trey White. Trey White understands the assignment, slip screen, little off-ball action here. Trey White switches. Peterson should be switching. He eventually does, but it's too late. He just mentally turns off for half a second there, hooks his man too, gives up the layup and the foul. You just can't be doing that kind of stuff. This is one of my favorite clips because it shows both the good and the bad, where like right away, this is incredible defense by Peterson. As Tamin Lipsey's not a lethal scoring guard, but he's quick, he's tough, he's strong. And I love how Peterson does such a good job of getting low, extending his strides to get skinny, get over the screen, cut off the drive, play physical, and then get right back down in a defensive stance. So far, this is perfect. Absolutely perfect defense. Unfortunately, it doesn't last. As right here, that's not what you want to see. So we just went from perfect to the absolute opposite of what he should be doing here. Instead of sliding that left foot and having that first step be his left foot towards the baseline, Peterson way too early goes into recovery mode, crosses his feet, brings that right over his left, turns his hips parallel to the baseline, so now all of his momentum is going the wrong way. Lipsey reads it easily, does a great job securing it, stepping through. Peterson's out of the picture now. Easy layup for Lipsey. Similar footwork issue here, where it's just really upright and really, really lazy. He kind of does this like gallop thing where he's like bouncing side to side, way too upright in his stance. And this is just inexcusable. Sloppy, lazy defense. Now, it was exhibition game early in the year. I get it, but that's an easily avoidable foul to be picking up right there. And in that same game, we see him really just upright, reaching a little bit, and it's that hopping that is never going to be passable in terms of footwork, that where he's just kind of bouncing. It's slow. It's easy to manipulate as a ball handler. It's stuff that you can't even get away with in high school, let alone college, let alone the NBA. And it immediately puts him behind the play. He's never able to recover. Conwell's able to pick up the foul plus the bucket, and it's all because of Peterson's just way too upright, way too careless with his fundamentals here. Has to improve. And then finally, I'm just flat-footed, reaching, stabbing at the ball, not being proactive, not having active feet. That's way too easy. So There's a lot of good. There's a lot of upside in Peterson's defense, but there's also a lot that needs to be worked out that an NBA coaching staff is going to be on him for. Now, he has all the tools, he has the tape, he has the background, he has the capabilities of being a really, 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 really good both on ball and off ball defender. He just has to show it more consistently. So, where does that leave us with Darryn Peterson? Because it was a rocky year for the Kansas freshman who came into the year as a lot of people's number one. Entering the year, he was number one on my board, and exiting the year, he's still number one on my board. I think the upside and the impact and the production that he had, despite all the injuries, despite all the off-court nonsense, being in and out of the lineup, clearly not being 100% in terms of health. You can debate the validity of all of the reports and all that as much as you want. I'm not going to dive into that because I'm more concerned about what's going on the court. And when you just watch how Darryn was moving with and without the ball this year, especially for the bulk of this year compared to the last month or so, compared to his high school stuff, there's a clear difference. He is such a lethal shooter. There's so much passing upside. The defense is very real, and I think his two-way impact, especially with these top guys, is some of the most impressive that you'll find. Darryn Peterson is not risk-free. I fully acknowledge that there is a lot that he needs to work on. There is still a lot that he needs to prove, but whatever team ends up taking him, whatever team ends up swinging on him, I think at minimum, at worst, you're getting an absolutely lethal off-ball scoring guard who can score in all three levels, who can attack closeouts, who can get downhill, who can draw fouls, and absolutely light it up from behind the arc. Where things get really fun and really interesting with him, though, is once you put him with NBA spacing and really empower and unlock the playmaking skills that he showed and really developed over his last year or two in high school and just didn't get to show at Kansas. Now, part of that was on him and playing with blinders a lot of the time, but a lot of it was context, too, and the role that he was asked to execute. Darryn Peterson's not a point guard. He's a two guard, like Anthony Edwards, like Devin Booker, like Ray Allen, like Dwayne Wade, like Donovan Mitchell. Guys who can really play physical on both ends of the floor, who can impact winning on both ends of the floor, get whatever shot whenever they want it, and create for others by making the right basketball play more often than not. Darryn Peterson has so much day one ability that it's tough not to get really excited about it. If you're a little more hesitant, if you have him at 2 or 3, I guess even 4, I can understand the argument as long as you're making a valid argument and it's not just all the off-court shenanigans. I guess I can understand it. But for me, he is the best player in this class and someone that I would be more than happy to take at number 1 in this draft and at very, very worst, number 2.